Hi, so I attended the Garfield County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting this morning, November 23rd, 2020, and this is my presentation on it. So, purpose of the meeting was to accept public comments, to give an opportunity to Garfield County Public Health to give a COVID update, to approve several bills and budgetary allocations, um, to receive updates from funding recipients. There were a number of action items. For example, there apparently our trash compactor at the local landfill is broken, so they talked about that. And then there was a public meeting at the end, which they tacked on. They said it would normally be in the afternoon, but for some reason it was included in this meeting. So the meeting ran for almost 3 hours, maybe even more than 3 hours. It's like 8 to 11:15. So yeah, the last topic went on for quite a while and was actually very interesting about a housing development where there is a zoning commission who or law that protected a bald eagle nesting site, and those bald eagles are no longer there. But there's a little bit of dispute about how that land should be managed to this point forward. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. In attendance were the three county commissioners pictured here: Mike Sampson, John Martin, and Ton Jankowski from left to right. County Manager Kevin Batchelder was there. He took minutes, I believe, as well as several of the presenters were with the Department of Human Services, the school district, the clerk and county recorder, and there were several members of the public that were there as well. Decisions were made with majority vote, 2 out of 3 vote. Decides on a formal motion. So one commissioner would make the motion to approve, someone would need to second, and then all those in favor would say aye. And throughout the meeting, they unanimously would say aye in unison for pretty much everything that happened. I don't think there was a single circumstance where they didn't agree. So they had unanimous agreement for all budget approvals, unanimous agreement for a letter of support for the school district, unanimous support for the Eagle Nest Buffer Zone, which I guess I can, spoiler alert, tell you now that they did decide that that needed a public process to go any further with the development proposal. So that's good news in my opinion. The skills that were demonstrated were, on the micro level, were use of clarifying questions by the commissioners, reflective listening, time management. They did a really good job of balancing, allowing people to speak fully while also moving the conversation along to make sure that it was appropriately, I guess, segmented and didn't get too in the weeds on any one topic because they had a big agenda. I also thought there was really respectful and professional communication between commissioners and toward meeting presenters and the general public. Although at one point, John Martin, who's kind of this country western cowboy type guy, used young ladies to describe these women from the school district, who are, one of them actually was at LCSW. And I don't know, on one hand, that could be interpreted as patronizing, but on the other hand, he is kind of this charismatic figure who is just got elected, I believe, for his 6th term. So people like him, and I think they kind of like that language out of him, even though I personally could do without it. The meso skills, I thought a lot of the organizations that spoke at the county commissioner meeting provided some really good information, statistics, and I guess appeals for their causes, including the River Center, which provides income support and food support and case management for households in Western Garfield County. And they've had a huge spike in need and services provided. So that was fantastic to hear from them. Also, Alpine Legal Services, skipping down to the bottom bullet point, they provided a really good presentation about their free domestic violence legal services, and it was really great to see people presenting to as, you know, how do they advocate for their neighborhood? What are they doing for the community here? And the commissioners were equally supportive and approved all the budget requests for the Department of Human Services, budgetary kind of, agenda item. Macro skills, I don't necessarily agree with their critique of SB 181, which would increase regulation on oil and gas. And they're kind of the opinion that's going to hurt our economy more than benefit us. But essentially, you know, they took a stand and they said that they didn't agree with Jared Polis, and they were very, outspoken about that criticism, which I think is a macro skill demonstrated. They also were diplomatic about it and said, we know there's people of all varying opinions on this, and we will survive, and we're going to get through this as a county. They also were great with numbers. They came prepared for the budget options and were just ready with the right questions and efficiently moved through the budget. It was obviously they'd done their homework. Running out of time, so I'll skip those and get to the conclusion and observations and personal reactions here. So the Board of County Commissioners agrees a lot. They lack diversity of identity and of opinion. All these men are between 60 and 70, and they just kind of smoothly moved through the meeting. No controversy, no disagreements among the three of them. So that was difficult to watch, knowing how diverse our county is and that, you know, the representation is so limited. That said, you know, these guys have been doing it for so long. John Martin was an effective chair. Tom Jankowski was great as treasurer, and they used their time efficiently. So last highlights from the meeting, it was great to hear verbal support for social services. Facilitation was skillfully done. Space was made for discussion while balancing the kind of direction and flow of the conversation overall. The lowlights for me, or the disappointing aspects, were just hearing a lack of support for the environment and environmental issues. You know, from SB 181 to the bald eagles nesting site, you know, it was all things that were not as important to the commissioners, it seemed. So yeah, that was difficult. And also there was a lot of public comment from sort of the anti-mask demographic, which is also not of my personal belief. So it was difficult to kind of hear them outnumber those calling for a better plan to address the impacts of COVID. So my closing question here is, just the awareness of, yes, these guys provide an attractive option for county commissioner, which is why they keep getting reelected. They have a level head. They are well spoken. They're well educated. They do a pretty good job as far as that's concerned. The smoothness of the meeting kind of demonstrates that. On the other hand, I wonder what the impact of electing someone with a more diverse background would be. A woman, a racial minority, someone even younger, or someone from the LGBTQ plus community. As much as that would kind of potentially could cause some friction there, I think that friction would be a good thing for our community. We had a Latina commissioner candidate who lost by just like 200 votes in our county. She ran a great campaign, and I would be really curious if Beatrice Soto was the commissioner, how that would have ended up. So sorry I went over, and thank you so much for watching about the Garfield County Commissioners meeting.